Thank you so much for joining us for this session at the Grill. I'm Rebecca Barker. I'm an editorial event producer at Fast Company, and I'm so excited to be joined by Nicole, Kate, and Jean for this panel. I don't want to speak for them. They're all pioneering sustainability and sustainable initiatives in their sectors, but those sectors are broad. So I'd love to get an intro from all of you on what you do and what your companies do, and we can start with Nicole.
Hi, my name's Nicole Richards. I'm the CEO of Allonnia. At Allonnia, we have a tagline called "Waste is a failure of imagination." So what we're using is biotechnology to upcycle waste in the industrial processes.
Hi, I'm Kate McLeod, and I am the founder of my eponymous brand. I make body care products. So my background is that I was a pastry chef. I had a bakery for many years, and now I work with plant-based butters and oils to create a product for your body. We are the only plastic and waterless brand sold at Sephora. Yeah, and we just completely plastic-free packaging, no water, so a very different, sustainable way of looking at body care, which is exponentially more efficacious than traditional lotions.
I'm Gene Eidelman. I'm co-founder of Azure Printed Homes, and we developed technology to 3D print homes using recycled plastic. So looking forward to this conversation.
Perfect. Okay, well, for starters, let's talk about the current environment that your companies are operating within. You know, it feels like every day we are seeing the current administration reneging on a new climate commitment. How do you all keep going in this current environment amidst so many setbacks? Have your companies felt the direct impact of any policy changes yet? And if not, how are you kind of preparing to account for those?
You want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things our company does is degrades contaminants. So there's a contaminant called PFAS. Has anybody heard of PFAS? Okay, yes. So it's one of the things that we do. So the EPA put a drinking water standard in place last year in April of 2024. And so what they have 5 years to make sure that people are abiding by this regulation. So one of the things that worries us about the new administration is the enforcement. So we all, as consumers of water, need to take some agency in our local community. Because I always think about, like, what can people do, not just companies do, and not what can government do, because there's only so much control we have. But we can require that our communities have clean and safe drinking water free from PFAS. So we're helping to clean up that water, and we're hoping that the communities are going to also require enforcement of this. So there's only so much impact a small company like Allonnia can make, but we think that the people that are using the water can make a big impact.
Yeah, I don't worry about current administration. First of all, I welcome the regulation. Just coming from former Soviet Union, the regulation is a good thing. And we never had the impact from federal regulators. You know, we build homes, so our regulators are local building departments and state departments of housing. If anything, we continue on our mission. First of all, we're using waste to make housing. During the life when there is a shortage of labor and potential tariffs, our material is not affected by any of that. And then we're producing affordable housing, and there is just so much of it. If anything, we've had a tremendous slowdown in construction over the last 10 years, and we're just charging forward to build more housing, less expensive, and consumers love our product. So again, I don't think anybody who is buying a house made from recycled materials cares about federal regulations. I mean, they love our product, and especially younger consumers just really want to be first adopters.
And I think just to add on there, it's such a good point that we have such power with our pocket. And I think especially when it comes to body care, I think the number for the US is 7.9 billion units of rigid plastic that are in skincare and body care. You don't have to use any of it. And what I love and what we have found is so like we're so grateful for Sephora and now Nordstrom, our two biggest retail partners, is that they really believe in this and you do have options. And I just think that we have so much power there.
Yeah, going back to Jean, you mentioned tariffs, and we were chatting about this last week. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick just announced yesterday that tariffs on aluminum and steel should be going into place on Wednesday. We'll see if that happens or not, and how that could increase, production and consumption of plastic. Might be great for Azure printed homes, but I'm curious to hear how you all are preparing for potential impacts from tariffs on your operation or supply chains.
Yeah, if anything, we started looking globally. I mean, we have one factory in LA, and although we tripled capacity last year, with all the LA fires in the last couple of months, that factory is going to be busy just producing housing in the area. We're opening plants in Colorado this year, and Midwest and East Coast next year, and we're looking to expand globally. So our idea is we really can produce locally in many places. And so again, I'm just not going to worry about tariffs or anything else that impacts. Just do what we can with the resources we have.
Yeah, the tariffs actually could help our company. Not that I'm saying I'm in favor of them, but one of the things that we are doing is upcycling critical materials from waste. So in waste products and mining waste, you have energy critical elements, rare earth elements that are already in waste. So one of the things that we're doing is using biology to separate those from waste, and you can do that domestically. So we're looking at it from an upcycling potential, but it's also a domestication of things like rare earth elements. So technically, the tariffs would help that, encourage that practice, which is a good sustainable practice. So in that sense, I guess I'm in favor of it.
There you go. We really do things like very differently. In fact, actually, the way the product is made, one of the things I do so differently is we look at the ingredients through a food lens. Contract manufacturers are actually not set up to even make our product. So out of necessity, we had to set up our own local workshop. Like I have chocolate making equipment, I employ pastry chefs, and that's where our product is made. Because of that, just to tie it into the sustainability, we cut our carbon emissions by, I think it's 52% by being locally made. Yes, we will be impacted by some of the tariffs on, say, like our bamboo. We do package in bamboo canisters. But I think what we've seen so far is that the people who are so loyal to us, it's such a better experience that they're getting that they're willing to like buy in and maybe support higher prices.
Yeah. Yeah, going off of that, cutting carbon emissions, I know all your companies are doing it. Can you talk more about how you're doing that? And then also, how do you make that matter to your consumers and clients?
Yeah, so carbon emissions for us, well, you can use waste products as a sink for CO2. So it's this whole circular system that you can put in place using biology. So that's the benefit of a company like Allonnia using microbes to sequester CO2. But how do you get consumers to care about that? I think, one, it's incumbent upon the technology supplier to make products that have an advantage. Whether it's a lotion or whether it's an industrial product, there has to be a productivity, there has to be a benefit to that. Otherwise, nobody's going to pay more for it. So you really have to tap into the performance advantage that either industry cares about because you're actually making more of the product more efficiently and they can sell it that way. Oh, and by the way, there's a sustainability benefit. To me, I've been in this industry, I was a chemical engineer for 30 years. To me, that's the only way sustainability is actually going to be impactful.
I have a question. How much, this really pulls into our carbon emissions, how much water do you think, percentage-wise, is in an average bottle of lotion sitting on the shelf in Sephora, in Walgreens? Give me a number. Someone shout it out. Industry average is between 75 and 90%. Now, I will tell you that there are no regulations in skincare or body care, or very little. I don't even know where that water is coming from, but you are buying a bottle of water. And take that, and then we're shipping that water all over the country. We work with Bluebird to figure out our carbon emissions by being a waterless product. And I will show you what this looks like. This is a body stone. It is a cocoa butter-based moisturizer. It melts right on contact. You are so sweet. It glides on just like silk. I was on QVC for 4 years, so I'm like bringing that back right now. We cut our carbon emissions by 65%. And you know what? This actually works. And there's no wax in here either. It feels good on your body, and it's better. Yeah. It's not that lotion's bad. It's not that it has bad ingredients. They are just diluted down to nothing, so they can't work on your body. In one application of this, from head to toe, and I've done this. I've stripped down. I've weighed it before and after, and I'm the formulator, so I know what's in here. You will put more cocoa butter on your body than exists in an entire 16-ounce bottle of Nivea or Jergens or Palmer's. We are just letting the natural ingredients do their thing, and it works, and it's way better, 65%. And locally made cuts us by another 50%.
I want to apply it in the green room, so can we do that after the show? Really, construction industry, the third worst polluter. Only oil and gas and autos are ahead, right? So we just don't think how much pollution is generated by all the construction guys going to the site, all the materials delivered, all the waste that's generated. So the future of construction, I really believe, is in modular and in prefab construction. I mean, 100 years ago, we had the horse and the buggy, and now we have EV vehicles. 100 years ago, we had a carpenter with a hammer and nail, and we still have that today. So we got to move construction to offsite, to a factory. Japan, 50% of their residential construction is done factory. In the US, it's only 4%. So while construction is the third worst polluter, our manufacturing process is actually positive for the environment because we take the trash out of landfills and being able to use it for producing product. We have no waste. We literally make we can make 3 homes a day. It takes us 24 hours to 3D print a module with no waste. We have a lot less employees because the process is very much automated. So just with shortages in construction labor, we help that, and a lot less moving back and forth and throwing stuff out. So yeah, huge difference in how we approach this.
Yeah. Kate, I want to come back to you. That kind of breaking down the cost per usage for your body stone, I feel like really puts it in perspective because you see the $45 price tag on your body stones, and maybe that's a little off-putting to consumers who are thinking, well, I could get that for $7, $8 at Walgreens. But when you kind of look at the cost per usage, it might kind of reframe that in the consumer's mind. I'm curious, though, how you think about marketing. Sustainable companies, they aren't necessarily chasing the latest micro trend, capitalizing on some kind of buzzy marketing campaign, anything like that. So how do you kind of cultivate brand loyalty or build hype around your product when you're also trying to stay true to your mission?
Yeah. Especially within the body care space, sustainability does not sell. I hate to say that, but people don't care. But that, our mission, my mission, is actually, I believe in the power of self-care. As corny and as cliche as that sounds, this actually changed my life. I made this in my kitchen. I used it on my body. And the reason that it is in a solid form is because when you take a moment and put your hands on your body and you connect with this, the more we are here and disconnected, there's so much wisdom here, and we need to get back to that. So my mission is to actually get you back in your bodies, even if that's for a couple seconds a day. I think that is priceless. And so when I was making this, I designed a product that felt good. It feels good on your hands. It feels good on your skin. You want to use it. And yes, it is a little bit more expensive. It's handmade, and it will last you much longer. But I think if you are providing a superior experience, and let's be honest, plastic, it's not a very luxurious experience. This, to me, feels so much chicer sitting on your bathroom counter. I think if you can provide a luxurious experience, and I love your tagline about using the imagination and like getting in there, like if we push ourselves to do that, there's so many consumer products. We do not need more of the same out there. I think consumers will actually notice, and it is slow. There's a lot of education required here, but over the past like 7 years, it's just one person at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go. You know, you mentioned Nicole's motto, waste is a failure of imagination, which I love. Let's talk about that. What does that mean to you, and what does that mean to Allonnia?
Yeah, I think, well, can I comment on the?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that what you said is so important, and I do think that consumers, when given the right amount of information, and like with social media and all these great things that we have for communication, just the point that you made that the amount that you're using lasts so much longer, so the price per usage is actually less. Like people that are buying with their pocketbook, like that's information that's so valuable. So I think that that's, you know, giving consumers that information is great. And going back to Allonnia, and waste is imagination, a failure of imagination. So if you think about, there's a microbe infallibility theory, which basically, if you let something sit in the ground long enough and it has energetic or metabolic properties, microbes evolve to use that. They need that in their system. And so what we take inspiration from that is to say, how can you use the tools from innovation today of synthetic biology and engineering biology and bring that into real life applications that can be used today? So how do you break down waste so that you can upcycle the materials? Or how do you engineer microbes that attach to a rare earth element that's in 0.001% of waste and extract that so that you can use it again? And biology is just this amazing tool, unlike chemistry, which is what I know best, but it can be tailored for all of these applications. So we didn't have these tools 10 years ago, but with what's been used in the pharma and food and fragrance industry, we have the tools that we can apply to industry and upcycle waste so that we don't need to accept what we used to have to accept 10 and 20 years ago.
Yeah. And going off of that, I mean, when it comes to plastic and forever chemicals, PFAS, like these things realistically are not going away. They're not going into thin air. So what does mitigation look like to all of you, and how do we kind of ensure a more circular and sustainable economy?
Well, for us, we actually use PETG, which is what water bottles are made from. So that's already the safest plastic there is. Doesn't have gas. And then a little bit off the question, but there's so many other things we accomplish. First of all, our product is less expensive. I really believe that consumers will really get on sustainability if they can see that they have a beautiful product that's less expensive, right? Secondly, the units we make are very energy efficient. So our units operate off solar without any connection to the grid. They're very efficient in every way, and they're beautiful. I mean, you're really using 3D printing. You're not limited by a 2x4.
And Jean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for those who aren't familiar, like, can you talk more about how much your housing units they cost to create compared to those on the market if you're hiring another contractor?
Yeah. We're literally 20 to 30% less expensive than building a traditional way, and much faster. I mean, there are, we can. My slogan is, you can order it today and move in next month. So that's, in construction, is impossible. Now you can buy a car this way. You can buy pretty much everything else except housing, and so there are just. Innovation will drive the growth of the industry, especially where there is such a shortage, and also using the waste instead of going in landfills, using for something purposeful.
Nicole?
Yeah, I think there's three things that have to happen to answer your question. So I think the industry and the producers that are making products have to have some responsibility for end of life. And so when their products are used, they have to be able to enable that to be recycled, upcycled, or discarded in a way that's responsible. So industry has to be responsible. I think consumers have to have the right information, what products are sustainable, and giving them a choice. And then you need regulation. You just do. People don't clean up water unless they're forced to. So you need to have regulations, and all three of those, I think, need to happen in order to live in a more sustainable way and have products be responsible and change the way that we've been manufacturing.
And oh, I'm sorry, Kate.
Nope, just seconding everything she just said. That was beautiful. You do have options. I would love if more people held bigger brands like accountable. Just don't use the plastic. Don't use it.
Yeah. I'm curious, Nicole, going back to what you were saying about how we need regulation. You're a year into a 2-year contract with the Department of Defense. What does that look like under this current administration?
Yeah, I think regulations are super interesting, and maybe just a fun fact, or maybe not. PFAS in water is regulated by the EPA. So the EPA says drinking water standards, you can't have more than parts per trillion of PFAS in your water. The FDA, which doesn't control drinking water but can control the Coke on your shelf, has no PFAS regulations. FDA, no PFAS regulations. EPA has a regulation. Like, that's just kind of crazy. Like, we need some better circularity in our regulations. But for the way we look at the contracts that we have with the DoD or the DOE, and we have multiple of them, is that if they're already granted, they're fine. The issue is the ones that haven't been granted. And the worry is that it's going to slow down innovation because small companies and startups aren't going to have that government funding that is needed to drive this innovation. So that's the real worry, I think, over the next 4 years, is that are we going to slow down innovation to a halt if we don't have the right government support?
In my respect, the two departments I worry about is HUD and FEMA, and they're both broken. I mean, HUD doesn't look at any innovation. They've been doing the same thing over and over again. And FEMA, if anything, hurts things. So I actually welcome changing of those departments to look at innovation. I mean, FEMA's been buying the same trailers for every disaster and spends more money to ship it, like to Maui, than to manufacture things on site. So again, it's different parts of this are affected, but there are a couple departments that are just not doing the job, and they, it's less of doing the same thing is going to be a good thing.
Yeah, what does expansion for your company look like right now when there is, a loss of funding for a lot of these potential contracts that Nicole was mentioning? You're building a second factory, as you mentioned, in Colorado sometime in this fall. So what does expansion look like for you right now?
We never, as I mentioned, we never relied on funding. Our customers can fall into 3 categories. In luxury end, we have glamping resorts. They're looking for somebody to produce. They're very much into sustainable products and something that can be made fast. Affordable housing, we have clients who are just willing, trying to do something a lot less expensive than it's done now. And in the low end, we provide housing for the homeless. And, again, produce units that will last only for 3 years. Actually, our client is a very great not-for-profit in San Francisco, and they love the fact that we really are about circular economy. Our units can be recycled in 3 to 5 years after homeless problem maybe gets under control finally, and then use it for something else. So very positive.
And then Kate, I know your company, you mentioned it's bootstrapped. So yeah, what does that look like for you right now?
We are completely bootstrapped. We literally started this at my kitchen table. We are an all-female team. And it has been hard. It has been really, really hard, and we have learned so much. But I'm also so grateful for that process, for that going slow. My husband is also an entrepreneur, and his business is no longer a startup, and he had a lot of funding. And it pushes, and we've gone so slow, and we've been able to stay true to who we are. And I actually believe that is why we are still plastic free. That is why the formula that is now sold on shelves throughout the country is still the formula that I made in my kitchen. And my 3-year-old can still put this in her mouth. And everything in here is food grade. I don't really recommend eating essential oils, but it's not going to taste great. But like you can eat it. And I'm not calling poison control. So like I love that. And I think at a certain point we will want to take on like the right type of funding. But we're not there yet, and we're enjoying the journey.
I just want to add, we've raised money crowdfunding. It's been very tough to raise money in the last 3 years, and we actually have a campaign now. So anybody interested, go to our website. We're crowdfunding right now. Tremendous growth opportunity.
There we go with the factory expansion. Jean, kind of going off of that, another reason that you touched on this, but another reason that your movable homes are growing in popularity is people are losing their homes in climate disasters like the LA wildfires. Maybe they flooded during Hurricane Helene and they need temporary housing. So how do you kind of think about how the climate crisis intersects with demand for your products?
Look, and we're, in that respect, every year. Look, I lived through Malibu fires 5.5 years ago when we lost 1,600 homes. Palisades and Eden fires burned 18,000 homes. Yeah. We don't have enough workforce or material to rebuild quickly. So unfortunately, and like earthquake in Turkey, 260,000 homes. I'm from Ukraine originally, so Ukraine and Gaza have been destroyed. So there is just more and more need for housing at scale. And I just hope that we don't rebuild the same old way. Affordable housing does not need to look ugly. It can be attractive and it can be done quickly. So, look, I'm not going to solve the climate crisis, but all I can do is try to assist families who lost their homes to rebuild their lives. My book is coming out this Thursday on how to rebuild a life after wildfire. So,
congratulations.
Yeah. Kate, we talked about this a bit, but I'm curious for a company like yours, like typically with companies that really are prioritizing sustainability, cost of production is higher. I guess, is there a way that you are able to kind of engage with your customers in that way and get them over the hump of seeing that initial $45 price tag, especially when you are in an oversaturated industry like beauty or wellness?
So we are a very small team. So you are looking at the one and only brand rep for Sephora's and Nordstrom's, and I am right now on a tour. Like after Texas, I'm going to Florida, and I'm going to Georgia, and I am going to hit 16 doors over the next 4 days. And I cannot tell you, look, there's a lot of education involved in this. This looks different. Most people are like, you're charging me $45 for soap. I'm like, it's not soap. But what I do, and I do this for all the beauty advisors, is I ask them to give me some skin. And I put it on their arm, and I rub it in, and they feel it. And I cannot tell you how many customers and BAs, beauty advisors, were like, wow, that actually feels so good. And I'm like, what did you think I was going to put on your arm? Like, truly? Like, no, it feels good. And I just think that's it. And I'm just going to drop a little note in here. We also make a sex stone, and my sex stone is the best sensual lubricant you will ever use, and it is the only lubricant on the market that actually enhances rather than takes away from intimacy, because it is a massage that either for like solo pleasure or partnered play can just go wherever the moment takes you. And it's like, again, coming back to you. I just think if you can provide, and it sounds like we're all doing that, a superior experience, I actually think a lot of everyone here has the power to go out and make something that's actually better and not put more, like not hurt us, like help us.
Is that a bestseller?
Started with that. That's
So wait, I've never been on a panel that had sex stone, PFAS remediation, and printed homes at the same time.
We've really gone
Love
through it all.
Fastco.
I talk a lot about my sex stone. It's actually a great way to hook people into the brand, so maybe that should have been the answer. But it is so good, guys, the sex stone.
But they would not listen to Jean or I after that, so I'm glad you waited till the end.
I think we were ready to come up.
All right. Well, yeah, we have time for one more question. So I guess to end our conversation, I'd love to hear from you all on, what role you think businesses can and should play in solving the climate crisis.
I think businesses need to take full responsibility for end of life cycle. But I also think, if I could end on maybe one note from my side, there's so much hope and encouragement, and that this is going to happen, and that people care. And I look at the younger generation and how much that, like, they are leaning into sustainability more than my generation. And I think we have so much hope for companies to be held responsible. And as this generation grows up and starts to run these companies, to make sure they are being run in a responsible and sustainable way.
Companies have choices. It is a little bit harder. I, back in 2017, got laughed out of a packaging fair in Flatiron in New York. And everyone told me, you have to put it in a deodorant stick. You have to pump it in, like dilute it, pump it into a little plastic tub. And I went home and I saw a bamboo canister on my kitchen counter. And literally, if you look at this, it's wrapped in a high-grade cheesecloth. Like, I'm a chef. I'm a pastry chef by training, and this all came out of my kitchen. And I'm just really tired of these companies saying, like, oh, well, you know, offset our plastic usage this way. Like, just don't do it. It's a little bit harder, but you know what? It's going to make you so much cooler, too, because you'll be different, and different is cool, and you'll stick out. There's literally no plastic here. And there's nothing wasted at the bottom of a bottle.
Yeah, startups, we've been in business only 3 years, and it's tough to come out of obscurity, right? I mean, so you got to have something unique, and I think being sustainable is a great uniqueness. And so on Saturday, we were on CBS Evening News. We wouldn't have made it there if we were just to be yet another construction company, right? So I really think sustainability is uniqueness to businesses, and let's just take advantage of it and run with it.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this
you.
panel.
Thank
It's been
you.
so great.